Coming up on Yahoo Sports Daily, Ishowspeed joins the star, the streaming superstar, joins the show in 90 minutes. Plus, Serena Williams, is she actually considering a comeback? We'll tell you why it might not be a great idea. And who says you can't go home? Justin Verlander headed back. We'll tell you what it means. Yahoo Sports Daily starts now. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. For the next 2 hours, we are racked, stacked, and packed and ready to get you everything you need to know. Caroline Fenton, I am excited this morning for a great we just talked about it, but Ishowspeed going to join us in a few hours. I don't know that I've ever felt more famous. So we're going to have some fun today, my friend. We got a lot to get into, including the Olympics, including the NBA. But we got to take a look at the NFL as we finally see the season come to an end. We shut the door on the Super Bowl, and we start to look forward. Never too early to figure out what happened this year and what it means for next year. Yesterday, we talked a lot about the Patriots and living up to expectations. So let's talk a little bit about the premise here. Simple. We'll go through the AFC teams with elite quarterbacks only, and we're going to figure out, are they in or out for next year's playoffs? Never too early, way too early predictions, in or out. Caroline, let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. How are we feeling about KC going into next year, in or out?
Yeah, because, this time last year, you and I both said, Fitz, that the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Lions, the Bengals would all miss the playoffs. So we should have cashed in on that. My goodness. Look at it. I'm kidding. The Chiefs, they make the playoffs. When you have the best quarterback on the planet, you don't miss the postseason 2 years in a row. I know that roster is flawed. I know that team has some major holes that need to be addressed. But let's not get that twisted. It's not like the Chiefs roster was perfectly constructed even in some of their years where they made a run for the Super Bowl or even won the Super Bowl. So Mahomes is going to Mahomes. Mahomes is inevitable. They lost some of that magic this past year, but I think that was more so just regressing to the mean than it was really an indictment on this Chiefs team. The Chiefs will be back in the postseason next year.
I struggled with this one. Of all the ones we're going to talk about, I think this might have been the most difficult for me because you're
Really?
right. On the one hand, I look at it and I say, oh my God, it's Mahomes. He doesn't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. On the other hand, now that he has missed the playoffs, all I keep thinking about is the way we talked about this team, the seasons leading up. And I know that those seasons resulted in Superman sort of efforts from Mahomes and a Super Bowl. But I look at this and I think, man, I just don't know that I can keep banking on that. So in a division where I think the Chargers made incredible improvements with specifically changing some coordinators, where I feel like the Broncos are continuing a trajectory forward. I'm not sure Bo Nix is really the answer, but he certainly played much better throughout the course of the back half of the season last year. It just feels like it's a stacked division in an AFC that's very weird. I'm actually going to go out for right now on this, and it doesn't feel good because you're right. I think Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and I think they're the best duo we've seen in modern football. So it's all respect to Kansas City. It's just it looked so bad for so long, and we excused it. Now that we've seen a little bit of that shine wear off, Caroline, I have a hard time getting the math back to the playoffs in that division. I'm going to feel foolish in 6 months when we're talking about this, but right now, today, maybe recency bias, I can find a path where they're out.
Man, no respect for Mahomes. Did we all just we do that? And I'm not saying this is on you, Fitz, but just listening to some of the commentary of, but it's not specifically you. It's listening to some of the commentary of quarterback rankings going into 2026 or power rankings of teams in the NFL going into 2026. I listened to one quarterback ranking that didn't have Patrick Mahomes until 4. I remember there was a time when we were talking about Patrick Mahomes being the greatest of all time. I remember there was a time when we were talking about Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and nobody else. Is Patrick Mahomes infallible? Of course not. He's human. That Chiefs team showed themselves to be human, to be, a team that was absolutely gettable. This past season, I think, was the blip on the Chiefs resume, but I still view Patrick Mahomes as kind of a quarterback that has that inevitability factor. Does he need pieces around him? Yes. Every elite quarterback does. Tom Brady couldn't have done it without Julian Edelman or Gronk or all of those pieces on those Patriots teams. Patrick Mahomes for so long couldn't do it without Travis Kelce or any of those other pieces around him. But there were all of the pieces that just came together at the worst possible time to rear their ugly heads. That I think we've overcorrected in our minds what this Chiefs team is. I think we've overcorrected what Patrick Mahomes or who Patrick Mahomes is.
I think the injury plays into a little bit of that, but you're right. I don't think you're wrong in the sense that once it feels like once there was a little bit of the crack of the armor, now everybody wants to pile on. I wonder when he gets back to 100%, and I wonder what they put around him in order to help him have a little bit of wiggle room until he gets back to 100%. It feels to me like there's a better chance that they're sort of a little bit off the beaten path because they're behind by the time he knocks the rust off and comes back to the best version of himself. Does the injury factor in for you at all?
Of course, it does. It has to. But we could have injury be a factor for several of these quarterbacks. It's the same thing I think about with Joe Burrow as well. It has to be a factor. Of course it does. If it happens twice, I'll be willing to buy into the dynasty is closed. This chapter is closed. The Mahomes magic wore off, not just for one season, but maybe the Mahomes magic isn't there to the extent that it used to be. I need to see it again to fully believe that it's gone and that this Chiefs team won't be as big of a factor in the NFL postseason moving forward as they have been in the past. But when we just see it once, I'm willing to believe that it's just a one-off.
Okay, what about the Baltimore Ravens? Again, Lamar Jackson, two-time, could have been three-time MVP, new head coach in Baltimore. Are you putting them in or out? Are they in or are they out?
My initial thought was out. Look, you have an aging Derrick Henry, and I've been the first person to say that until I see it, I can't believe that Derrick Henry is human. But let's be honest, he's a 32, 33-year-old running back at some point. At some point, Father Time is going to catch up to Derrick Henry. And we saw it this past season that with some fumbles. We saw it this past season with his ball security issues. That was one reason why I thought they'd be out. And also, we cannot underestimate the importance of a head coach. We can't say that the Giants hit a home run in their head coaching cycle and also in the same breath say, oh, the Ravens are going to be fine without John Harbaugh. I think Jesse Minter was a really smart hire. I loved the hire for the Ravens. But when you have that much turnover, when you have that much change at a head coaching position, when you have a brain drain at the coordinator position, things take time. Those transitions aren't always seamless. But the reason why I gave the Ravens the benefit of the doubt that I do think they'll find themselves in the postseason, when you look at their schedule, man, right now, at least what we know about these teams on paper, things always change throughout the course of the offseason and through the course of the season, of course. But their schedule, I mean, the AFC North feels like it could be incredibly wide open. And then they get the NFC South and the AFC South. They get the Chargers and the Cowboys, yes, but this schedule is not overly intimidating. I think that this is a schedule where the Ravens could win 10 games fairly easily and at least find themselves in a wild card spot.
It's criminal to have the NFC South and the AFC South allowed to be the two divisions for anybody. That should just be like the league should sit down and say, no, we're not going to let that level of suckery come onto anybody's schedule. You're right. I like the schedule. I don't like the division. We'll get into one of the other teams in just a second. I don't like this division at all. So I think the Ravens win this division because this division, to me today, as we sit right now, before free agency, before the draft, this looks like one of the softer divisions we're going to see in the NFL next year. I know we're not allowed to say that about this division because everybody feels some kind of way about it, but that's what the division has been, not who they are, which takes me to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Caroline, Cincinnati, I'm going to be clear. I think there's a better chance that the Cincinnati Bengals fire Zach Taylor as the first coach fired than they make the playoffs. I got no reason to think they fixed anything. They kept everything in the building the exact same and basically said, no, we're going to be fine. We're just going to run this thing back. I know you got Joe Burrow, and even you got you got Jamar. You have those weapons. And even with that, as bad as the defense has been, they've still found themselves middling around 500. I just feel like right now going into this season, they haven't done anything that makes me think next year's going to be different. I still think the defense is going to suck. I still think that the team's going to find a way to let Burrow down over and over and over again, and they always start slow. So when they start slow, inevitably yet again, and we're watching Joe Burrow in his fields and everybody's singing Kumbaya and hugging him on the sideline, I think that's the moment that Zach Taylor, boom, gone. And then we're all going to sit here and wonder why it wasn't done in the offseason. So I'm out on the Bengals making the playoffs because they haven't shown me any change.
I think we're all already asking ourselves why it didn't happen in the offseason, and that's not going anywhere. I'm going to say the Bengals are in because I don't believe in a world when you have an elite quarterback in his prime and one of the best wide receiver tandems in the NFL, and you miss the postseason 3 years in a row. That's just not how the world should work. Hey, look, the NFL is not very kind, but she's not that mean. That would be so just unfair. All of these things would have to go so wrong for the Bengals for the third year in a row. And look, things have gone wrong for the Bengals a lot over the course of their history. To your point, though, if they do miss the postseason, Zach Taylor has to be so gone so fast. His seat should be so hot that he's starting to get blisters on the bottom of his behind. But you say if Zach Taylor gets fired midseason, I still think there's a chance that the Bengals could make the playoffs because that's how little I think of Zach Taylor. That if he's out of the building, I think this team is better.
That is wild. And when you say it that way, now suddenly I'm rethinking it. It's, man, the Bengals have put themselves in this situation. You're right. The football gods are a mean, fickle group, and they sit up there every Sunday and they watch football while they taunt all of us. I just believe that the football gods right now every Sunday sit up there and they put like a voodoo doll Bengals jersey up in the air and they say, really, watch how weird we can make this. And it's just, it breaks my heart for Cincinnati fans, by the way. Absolutely love that city. Kings Island, one of my favorite places to visit. Like, I love Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you deserve a better Bengals team than you're going to get this year because Zach Taylor, I don't think is the answer, and that staff isn't the answer. One more. How about Buffalo? All right, we get first-year head coach coming into Buffalo, but all of a sudden the Bills told us McDermott was the problem. So now we take McDermott, we crumple him up, we kick him out the door. Now what do we have when we look at the Bengals, at the Bills next year for the playoffs? In or out?
I think they're out. I just said the same thing about the Ravens. Look, you fire a coach that's gotten you to the postseason for the last 7 years. You fire a coach and Sean McDermott that has coached a lot and won a lot of football games, and you replace him with a guy who's never been a head coach at any level. I think I have a lot of respect for Joe Brady. I have a lot of respect for the offensive mind that he is. But it's a lot different from being an offensive coordinator than being a head coach in this league. You've seen a lot of really talented offensive minds fail at being a head coach because some guys got it and some guys just don't. I don't know if Joe Brady does, but I do expect there to be at least some ramping up period. I do expect there to be at least some sort of learning curve for Joe Brady. And the margin for error for this Bills team is not that big. And also, the Buffalo Bills have a really tough schedule. Look, the Patriots, I don't think are going to be any team that's going to fall back into irrelevancy. I don't think the Patriots are going to find themselves back in the Super Bowl anytime soon, but they're still going to be a competitive opponent. They go to Lambeau. They play the Chiefs. They play the Lions. They play the Bears. They get the Rams when the Patriots get the Seahawks. Like, the Bills aren't getting any sort of break in their schedule this year, even though they're getting a second place schedule. So I don't think the Bills are going to find themselves in the postseason. Too much change and too much roster reconstruction that needs to happen.
I agree, especially your point on the schedule. I noticed you left the Raiders off of that when you were talking about the gauntlet. Not sure why.
Oh, I just missed it.
It's just an accident. These things happen. That schedule is brutal, though. When you look at the way that this thing is played out for the AFC East, it's brutal. The one thing I would say is that winning this division means being the best team in this division specifically. I have absolutely no reason to think that the Jets won't be the worst team in football next year. I right now, if I had to place my money on one team to be the worst in football next year, it's the Jets. I don't believe the Dolphins take a drastic step forward. I think the Dolphins are going to essentially tank their way through another year where they have no idea what to do with the quarterback situation, try and address it next year. So to me, the Dolphins are maybe a 4-win football team as we sit right now. So that leaves me the Patriots, and I think the Bills are better than the Patriots. Both of these teams are going to feast, but if we get a Patriots-Bills split even, well, that gets the Bills and the Patriots probably both to 5 wins. The question is, what do you do with the rest of it? I trust Josh Allen and the way that he's played more than I trust Drake May in what the Patriots schedule is going to be next year. So right now, I lean Bills winning this division, but suddenly winning the AFC East, as we sit today, feels like a 9-win sort of proposition. The AFC East feels a hell of a lot closer to the NFC South than it has in a long time. There are questions to be answered. I think you could put the yeah, but on almost everything in this division. So if you are anti-Bills, it's easy, not that you are, but if you're a Patriots fan, it's easy to look at it and say, look at all of this, nothing's going to be different. If you are anti-Patriots, it's easy to look at it and say the Patriots are going to take a step back. I think this becomes one of the more interesting ones in the league to see. Did they get it right? Because they made one man a scapegoat. When you make one man a scapegoat, man, things get difficult. Speaking of scapegoats, in the NBA, we had a massive butt whooping last night. The question is, should that man be the scapegoat for the problems in LA? We'll answer it next.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knippel and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see, he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knippel. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
What's up, Jason and Caroline? Here's what happened while you were sleeping in the NBA. The San Antonio Spurs traveled to LA to take on the Lakers without Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves, and you can pretty much guess the outcome of this game. The Spurs just absolutely waxed them 136-108. This game was never competitive. I wanted to turn it off after the first quarter, but I had to watch Victor Wembanyama. All eyes were on him as he just continued to torch the Lakers front court. 25 points in the first quarter, 37 in the first half, finishing with 40 points and 12 rebounds in under 27 minutes. Just a great performance from Wemby, but this was also about the Lakers just looking sad without their big three. I mean, they let up 84 points in the first half. That's a franchise record. That hasn't been done since 1959. Absolutely crazy. And now it begs the question, if any of this big three, now granted, the big three is very, very good when they're together. We haven't seen much of it, but we have some sample size of it from last year. Where does this team go if one of these guys gets hurt? Because it seems like JJ Redick can't really coach up the rest of these guys if they're going to be missing time. So do you think JJ Redick is the right coach in the long run for this team? Back to you.
Titus with God's work staying up and getting us caught up on a game where Wemby at one point had 17 straight points in this thing. Like, that is a level of dominance that we rarely see, right? Wemby was absolutely incredible. But Caroline, to Titus's question, as I watched that, I kept thinking, This is, if we go all the way back to when JJ Redick was sitting on the desk at First Take yelling at NBA coaches and yelling at NBA players, he would be yelling about the fact that the coach is not getting through to the team in a way that's getting a solid defensive effort over and over and over again. It bothers me that one of the things that we've talked about on the show and has become a narrative on the Lakers that is correct is that they lack the perimeter defense speed, the aggression to get out and guard anybody. And he says, we could have shown 18 clips of us not playing our defense. Yeah, not a lot to take away other than we suck at defense. At some point, that's on the coach. Like, either you're coaching it or you're letting it happen. That's coaching 101, right? So either JJ's coaching it or he's letting it happen. Or even worse, the locker room doesn't give a damn about what he's doing either way. Any way I want to look at it, right now, I think it's pretty fair to look at the Lakers and say they're broken, and part of that has to fall squarely at the feet of JJ.
Like, yeah, JJ, you do suck at defense. That's not something that's new, though. We've been talking about how bad the Lakers' defense is for months, Fitz. It'd be one thing if this was a weird one-off kind of game where you just didn't have your best stuff and the coach calls out the locker room for that. I don't have a problem for that. I don't have a problem with that. But to continue to call out the same things that have been issues that have reared their ugly heads all season long, at some point it starts to fall on deaf ears. To your point, at some point, we're looking at the coach like, yeah, and what are you doing about it? You do suck at defense. You have sucked at defense. You haven't gotten any better at defense. We talked yesterday, Fitz, about how we both agreed wholeheartedly, 1,000% deep in our heart of hearts, that the Lakers are not a championship team. We agreed with what LeBron said about, like, why are you comparing us to OKC? We're not OKC. Correct! Because you can't play defense. So I don't know if JJ Redick is the guy, but to be honest with you, Fitz, when the Lakers hired JJ Redick, my impression of the hire was, this is LeBron's podcast partner. Like, this is LeBron's coach of choice. This is LeBron's buddy. The Lakers just hired who LeBron wanted to hire. Dan Hurley said thanks, but no thanks. I'll stay at UConn. And when they didn't get their guy, they thought, okay, we'll just, hire LeBron's podcast host. So I wasn't overly, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in the JJ Redick hire, even when it happened. And now when you go outside of the big three, you go outside of the Lukas, the Austin Reeves, and the LeBrons, what does this Lakers roster have to show for it? And sure, if we're going to talk about the roster construction, we can bring Rob Pelinka into the conversation. But isn't Rob Pelinka the guy that signed Austin Reeves to a long-term deal? Isn't Rob Pelinka the guy that traded for Luka Doncic? Isn't Rob Pelinka the guy that got LeBron to the Lakers? So could he have done better with constructing the defense with the back end of the roster? Yeah, of course. But at some point, we can't point the finger at the general manager who brought in this big three. At some point, we have to point the finger at the coach who's not developing the back half of the roster.
I mean, that part of it is, to me, is I get it. Maybe you don't have the necessary players to be able to compete on the edge and play great perimeter defense. I'm looking for that wild effort. I'm at least looking for guys that are trying. Shout out to my buddy Mikey. Mikey famously came up to me one day and he was complaining. And I was like, man, you're in a bad mood. And he said, you know what? I'm a complainer. I'm like, I appreciate the fact that you know it. All right. At some point, to me, at this point, JJ is just a complainer. He's not a fixer. And this is sort of my impression of what JJ has done for a long time. JJ sat on the mic a lot at ESPN and had a lot to say about a lot of people. I was there at that time. When he was on First Take, I remember very vividly one time he was on set and they brought up a topic and his answer wasn't debated. His answer was to say, I didn't want to talk about this in the first place. It's a stupid topic. My thought immediately when that happened is you do production meetings, you talk to the staff, you spend all morning with everybody. You had hours before you went on air to tell people you didn't think it was a good topic. But rather than fix it before you went on air, you set everybody up where you could simply trash it when you were there. That's exactly what he's doing as a coach right now. He's really good at telling us what the problem is. He's always done that with a microphone. He's great at telling everybody what the problem is. I'm waiting for JJ Redick to tell somebody a solution. Part of the reason that I thought this might work as a head coach is because of his relationship with LeBron. I look at JJ and say, man, this is a great opportunity. He's going to be able to speak to LeBron in a way other people probably can't because he has so much skin in the game with them. They know each other. And then you think, okay, LeBron's going to have buy-in in the locker room. And once you have the coach and LeBron with buy-in, everybody's going to buy into this. Instead, what we get is a coach that every single night reminds us of the weakness of the team, but has yet to sit in front of a microphone even once and tell us how we can fix it. has yet to sit in front of the microphone even once and tell us what he could change. Instead, he just sits there and says, we suck. We're not playing any defense. I don't know what you want me to do. I want you to find a way to get into these guys. I want you to find a way to get a locker room to listen to you. I want you to do the very thing that you wanted coaches to do when you were in media. Lead. Find a way to improve. None of that's happening from JJ. So I'm looking at a Lakers organization that's lost in part because JJ is great at telling us what's wrong, but never telling us how to actually fix it.
That's your job. Like, yeah, but he can tell us what's wrong, but also, is JJ Redick telling us anything that we didn't already know? Like, thank you for pointing out the obvious. You just gave up 136 points. Thank you for pointing out that your team's not very good defensively. But you get paid to, it is your job to fix it. And JJ Redick hasn't fixed it. And again, I'll go back to, is Rob Pelinka innocent in all of this? No. But it's your job as a coach to work with and cook with the ingredients that you're given. And you can do a whole hell of a lot worse of ingredients than LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves. The way that this Lakers team is constructed, their best defense kind of has to be their offense. But on a night when Austin Reeves is in calf management, whatever that means, on a night when Luka's banged up or LeBron isn't largely available, your best offense can't be your defense. And so that's when you need something else. When you have to go out of your bread and butter, when you have to go out of your bag, where can the Lakers go to? If they don't have a member of the big three, or none of them for that matter, or if one of them isn't in their best night, where do the Lakers go to? I don't know. I don't think they have a plan B. I don't think the Lakers have anything else that they can turn to point to and say, okay, if what plan A is doing, aka Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron going off on any given night, if that's not working, if we can't play into that kind of style, where do we go to next? I don't know what the Lakers go to next is. That's JJ Redick's job to figure out.
And I would ask any Lakers fan that's watching this, watch your team last night and watch your team back in October and tell me where you see the discernible difference in skill and effort. Because that comes back every day right now. I just keep saying the same thing. Building a championship team is draft, develop, and depth, right? So the Lakers don't have the depth. We know that. Maybe they haven't drafted well enough. We can talk about that. But also there's the third one, develop here. Where have the Lakers gotten demonstrably better on the edge of defense, right? Where have we seen a different level of, oh my God, from the guys that are on the court? Where is the level of give a damn? Where is the plug-in from everybody where you at least see guys trying? Anybody that's played 2 seconds of rec league basketball, not that that tells you anything about the NBA, but you know one thing. If you play 2 seconds of basketball in your life, you know the guys that play like they're leaving everything on the court every single time they're there. We don't see that from the Lakers consistently. And I know that it's the NBA, and I know that defense is not always the NBA's biggest focus. And frankly, I'm saying this as somebody that loves the modern game and the way that the modern game is played. But I'm watching this and seeing a bunch of guys that are sort of standing around and a bunch of guys that aren't really going after any loose balls and a bunch of guys that are getting beat underneath and a bunch of guys that aren't trying to close in on Wemby at all when he's just walking all over. I know it was a mismatch. I get you didn't have anybody that could stop Victor Wembanyama. That's not a new thing. But, man, I at least want to see you give a damn. I want to see you try. I want to see somebody get their butt whooped, but at least they keep getting up over and over and over again. We don't see any of that. And when we don't see any of that from anybody, what do we do for every team? Not just the Lakers, every team. We immediately, Caroline, look at the coach. That's why coaches are changed so often in sports. It's easier to change one than it is to change an entire roster. I'm looking around now, and I'm asking gently, Lakers fans, where's the proof of concept that JJ Redick is a great coach? Because I'm not seeing it anywhere.
Sometimes great players aren't great coaches or front office members. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Michael Jordan and the Charlotte Hornets. It's okay to acknowledge that maybe JJ Redick just is not a great basketball coach. And I think part of being a great coach is portraying a message, is making the fan base feel like their favorite team is in good hands, is portraying a vision. How can I trust you to have a vision for your basketball team if you can't portray it? I think that media relationships, fan relationships are so much of a part of being a head coach. You're kind of a politician when you're a head coach, right? That's an aspect of the job that I don't think JJ Redick has a great grasp on. I do think it's a little bit refreshing because I do think maybe JJ Redick is very, very honest and open, maybe honest and open, though, to a fault. Because there have been several times in post-game press conferences where he's a little bit too honest. Maybe peels back the layers just a little bit too much to a point that you're hitting a little bit of a vulnerable spot in the locker room. And if I'm a Laker fan, I don't feel overly inspired about a coach that maybe gets a little bit too emotional in post-game press conferences. Again, if you can't portray what's wrong or a vision or how we're going to get things right, how can I trust you to do it? JJ Redick's media relations, although, look, media relations don't win championships. I understand that. But when you're talking about good faith with the fan base, good faith with the front office, that's an aspect of the job that JJ Redick, I think, is a little bit off on.
Well, leadership will also always be in part about communication. And if the message and the way you're communicating it isn't being received, it's up to the leaders to figure out how to translate that message in a way that will be received so you get the best out of everybody. It's one of the toughest things about coaching is no two people are the same. You have to learn how to get the best out of every single person. I just don't think we've seen that from the Lakers throughout the course of this season. Plenty more NBA talk to come, but in the meantime, pitchers and catchers are reporting. We are already there. So Jake Mintz going to join us. He'll get us all ready. We'll figure out if the Dodgers are actually ruining baseball or not.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry the torch during this program. Like it's, I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around, and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
There are only 2 options here. An A or an F. It's either an A because they signed the best player available and the best player available at their biggest hole in Edwin Diaz, or it's an F because they're ruining the sport. Okay? Because they're sending us into a labor stoppage of woe. Those are the 2 options. I don't think you can give them any other grade. Do I give them an A? Do I give them an F? I'll give them an F.
Oh, that's Jake Mintz from Baseball Barbercast. I want to learn how to speak. I'm flustered that you gave him an F here. Yahoo Sports Daily joining us right now Look, Jake, about a year and a half ago, I was sitting in a bar with a buddy that's a lifelong diehard, massive Dodgers fan. And he's like, you should be a Dodgers fan. And I don't have a favorite baseball team. So about a year and a half ago, I adopted the Dodgers as my favorite baseball team. I've now seen 2 World Series. So
Not allowed.
I don't know why you're coming at. I don't know. Like, I got lifelong diehard baseball.
That's good
fans
adoption.
to actually work on this. Thank you so much. Look, I've had enough losing in my life. I'm taking this in. Why are my beloved Dodgers? I can't even say that with a straight face. Why are my Dodgers ruining baseball, Jake?
They're not ruining baseball. I was mostly being humorous in that clip, but their actions this winter and the few previous winters are certainly putting the game in somewhat of a precarious position. I don't think they are the villain here. I think that the structure of the sport is more the culprit, and the owners that don't want to spend are more to blame than the owners that do want to spend. That being said, the Dodgers, who signed Kyle Tucker this winter, the top free agent available, for a downright preposterous 4-year, $240 million contract. Yes, that is $60 million a year. They are operating on a different financial plane than every other team, and that is a legitimate competitive advantage. Pretending otherwise is farcical.
I feel like baseball fans are either on one side of the aisle. You're on the aisle of the Dodgers are ruining baseball, or you're on the aisle of the Marlins, the A's, the Pirates, and owners that don't want to spend money are ruining baseball, where I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And both are the reason why we're having these conversations of a looming lockout in 2027. You mentioned that in that clip. Break it down to us in layman's terms of why we are talking about a looming lockout and your level of confidence that baseball will be played in 2027.
My level of confidence that baseball will be played is high. I think that there also will be a lockout. Last time there were CBA negotiations at the end of the 2022 season, the owners locked out the players on December 1st. That lasted, I believe, into early March. The season was pushed back by about a week. I would expect something relatively similar as the most likely outcome. Maybe it stretches a little bit longer. Now, why is there going to be a lockout? Well, there are fundamental disagreements about the financial system of baseball. Now, famously, in America, baseball is the only sport without a cap. Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap. There are luxury tax thresholds where if you go above a certain amount, you pay $2 on the dollar for every dollar you spend. But that has not stopped teams like the Dodgers and, frankly, the Mets from spending oodles and oodles of money on free agent players. Ownership and the league has been trying to institute a salary cap now for really since before I was born. The 1994 strike was a big part of that. And the Players Association takes a lot of pride in being the union that has succeeded in suppressing and warding off a salary cap. And so that is going to be the biggest sticking point during these negotiations, because the owners in the league, they feel empowered by a lot of the public perception that is swirling around the Dodgers right now. And I do want to be clear, like the what's ruining baseball discourse, I don't think baseball is ruined. Clearly, I don't. Like, I do this every day. I like the dang thing. You know what I mean? But, like, I think the current setup has issues, but I don't know how anybody could watch last year's sensational World Series and be like, this sucks,
It's so hard for me because, the ratings are through the roof on the postseason we just saw. So every time somebody says baseball is being ruined, my answer is more people than ever are flocking to baseball. That World Series was absolutely dynamic. I don't really care how we got there. So let's get to some of what we're expecting from different teams coming in here. We got some actual action happening. Pitchers and catchers starting to report today. Blue Jays reporting today. They added some big pieces in the offseason. Do they have enough in your mind to get back to the World Series?
Absolutely. Anytime you employ Vladimir, that's certainly going to help the cause. Now, they did lose Bo Bichette, who hit the World Series winning home run before he didn't in Game 7. He's off to the Mets. The Blue Jays didn't really show much interest in bringing him back. Their biggest addition over the winter was Dylan Cease, to whom they gave 7 years and $200 million. He's going to be one of their frontline arms. in the rotation. I think the Blue Jays lineup took a half step back over the winter, but their starting rotation and their bullpen took a little bit of a step forward. They certainly have the horses to get back to the Fall Classic.
Another team we're going to be talking a lot in the AL is, you guessed it, the Yankees, because death taxes and Yankees.
What?
People
People care about the Yankees?
I've never heard of them.
If you've ever heard of them, yeah.
All those people
This
you see
weird
walking
up-and-coming
around
team.
European cities with that N and Y hat, like they're all Yankees fans, right?
Of
Oh, yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Because we could just, ask every person wearing a Bronx bomber on their head, hey, name a Yankee.
Yeah.
$1.
Yeah.
Ma'am, for $1, name a Yankee. Did they do enough this past offseason to make a run and get to the World Series?
I mean, did they do it? They basically hit like Command R and just refreshed last year's season. 6 players that hit free agency from last year's team, they brought back. Now, that's Cody Bellinger on a 5-year deal, and then 5 dudes on 1-year contracts, Paul Goldschmidt, Ahmed Rosario, a handful of kind of back of the rotation pitchers. They did not add, they did not subtract. They're simply running it back. Like, this is the most let's run it back that we've seen in some time. Now, the argument for that is they won 94 games, tied with the Blue Jays. They lost the division on a tiebreaker. They had the best offense in the sport. And this year, they're going to get Garrett Cole back from Tommy John surgery, one of the best pitchers in the world, who missed all last season. And so I think there's a very legitimate argument to simply running it back. Is it an exhilarating prospect for diehard Yankees fans? Not really, but that's not a group that people are playing tiny violins for.
It's always a tiny violin, too, which, by the way, would be brutally difficult to play. I'm just saying. Let's go to Detroit. Skubal wins arbitration, $32 million. What's that mean for his short-term and long-term future with Detroit?
Dude, the arbitration thing was like baseball arbitration is a super duper weird mystery box that is literally the definition of inside baseball. The way to kind of handicap that conversation is Tarek Skubal wanted $32 million. The team wanted to pay him $19 million. They go in front of 3 strangers that are independent arbitrators who decide that he gets 32 or he gets 19. There is no meeting in the middle, and Tarek Skubal won. Now, what does that mean for his short-term and long-term prospects? Well, long-term, it means that his great-grandchildren get to go to whatever private high school they want. Not that he's, hurting for dough. I don't think this necessarily changes the likelihood that he gets traded. I think if the Tigers are in it, they will hold on to him at the deadline. I think he will hit free agency this winter and be one of the most highly prized pitching free agents that we have ever seen. He will break all sorts of records. The arbitration thing is more impactful for what it means for other players moving forward, just because it completely reset the market in terms of what arbitration eligible pitchers are making.
We also saw Justin Verlander report back with the Detroit Tigers, excuse me. 43 years old. I watched him last year at spring training and I thought, man, he doesn't look 42, but back at 43. Is this the last run for Justin Verlander?
I don't think so. He has been very public that he wants to pitch till he's 45. Why? I don't know. I'd want to go on vacation. Kudos to him, though. The future Hall of Famer wants to keep it rolling. Is he dominant still? Absolutely not. Is he competent? Absolutely. He will be in the Tigers rotation. He was a slightly above average league average pitcher last year. And it's just a cool story for him to come back home to, finish his career maybe where it all started. Remember, he was drafted by the Tigers in 2004. Okay. 2004. The Expos were still in Montreal when Justin Verlander was drafted by the Tigers, and here he is back at the D. This is cool. Like, this is a cool thing for Tigers fans to go to the yard and see every day.
It's an amazing story by far. It's never too early to get your World Series prediction. Look, we got to get you on record. So, who are the Dodgers beating for their 3rd straight then this year?
All righty, I've given it.
The thing is, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like,
he's not wrong. And the worry is. So the worry is legitimate. And this is part of the reason why I think like the discussion about the Dodgers is a little overblown. Baseball's so random. We play 162 games and then there's only, 5 games in that first round. And so the chances that the Dodgers, have a couple bad days are high. Remember, they were 2 outs away from not winning the whole thing, right? It was not out of the realm of possibility. It's funny. You say, like, give me your World Series prediction. Dude, I legitimately haven't thought about it, like, one bit. The calendar has turned to February, and I haven't given it one thought. But to give you an answer that I will not stand by even a little bit at any point, I will say that the New York Mets will win the World Series, and they will beat the Seattle Mariners. They will beat the Seattle Mariners. You heard it here first. I have tons of confidence in it. Honestly, this week, I'm just riding high that football's over. Like, I'm happy for everyone else, but now it's my time to hop into the spotlight. Former big league infielder Juan Uribe famously said, quote, more football. Oh, curse word. Bleeping curse word, uncurse word believable, baseball. That's what I want to watch. And that's how I feel right now.
I don't know if the rest of our show is even going to go up because Josh, one of our producers behind the scenes, diehard Mets fan, I'm pretty sure the minute you pick the Mets, he just left. Like, the show, he's done.
Yes.
Good. He's out. He's already thrown he's his own. He's got a bag of confetti. It's all, it's the right colors. He's got the blue and the orange. He's just confetti parading his way
Mets
through
fans
the
need a
office
little
right
joy in their lives. Okay, it's been 30 years of disappointment.
You can get that joy by hanging out with the Baseball Barbercast. Obviously, always appreciate your time, Jake. Thanks for your expertise. And remember, just Dodgers third straight. That's just the one thing we're going for here. Dodgers. We're Dodgers stands. No, we're not. I am. That
Seems
is
you
fair.
really
Jake,
care.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. It's good. I can't help that I'm a champion. I can't help it. It's the one time I can talk my talk. We appreciate Jake so much. Before we break, a reminder to everyone.
Since you're also a
Fantasy
Laker
baseball
fan,
is back.
Cowboy fan.
No, I grew up a Laker fan, actually. Fantasy baseball back. Playing is easier and more fun than ever. Get your crew together. Play with your friends today. All you got to do is download the Yahoo Fantasy app. Join or create a league right now. You can get into it, fantasy baseball, have some fun, and then talk your talk about your team, not just my team winning a third straight World Series. Plenty more to come on this show, including that man getting paid in the offseason. We'll tell you about it next.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is, when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not. I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Kenneth Walker III is the first running back to win Super Bowl MVP in 28 years. And what do you know? He's about to be a free agent. So first time we've seen it since Terrell Davis did it in Super Bowl 32 with the Broncos. Going into free agency, as we've talked about, the Seahawks have plenty of money. They can keep anybody they want to keep. But the question is, what do you keep and how do you do it? The franchise tag for a running back is just over $14 million, which would make him the 5th highest paid running back in the league. Caroline, does Seattle need to franchise Kenneth Walker if they can't work out a long-term deal?
I will follow up your question with a question. Do you think Kenneth Walker was $14 million valuable to the Seattle Seahawks this past year?
Oh my God, yes. I mean,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he was $40 million valuable. He was the Super Bowl MVP. So to answer your question, yes, I do think that the Seahawks need to tag or even sign Kenneth Walker this offseason. One reason being he's incredibly important to this offense, and you're also losing your play caller in Clint Kubiak. So you would like that consistency. Sam Darnold is the type of quarterback that needs pieces around him. Most quarterbacks are. Okay, Sam Darnold lovers, don't come for me. And also because when Zach Charbonnet went down with an injury, Kenneth Walker stepped up and played the best football of the season. So he can carry your team on the ground. So for football reasons, yes, it makes sense. The second reason is I think it's just bad business if you don't sign your players. I think it is bad business, and it would be a bad look for the Seattle Seahawks if they just let Kenneth Walker walk in free agency, fresh off of winning a Super Bowl MVP, and for how much he means to that team on the field, how much he means to that team in the locker room. The Seahawks, I think, would be sending a very strange message to the rest of the league and to the rest of free agents out there that, oh, the Seahawks don't pay their players. The Seahawks don't, take care of their players that mean a lot to them offensively. So yes, I think for all of those reasons, the Seahawks need to pay Kenneth Walker.
And this isn't new. I know a lot of people are new to paying attention to Kenneth Walker, but as I have joked with you and have over the years, Michigan State paid Mel Tucker $100 million after one successful year, and they all thought that he was the answer to head coach. Now, a lot more than football went wrong with Mel Tucker. But what went right that year? Kenneth Walker III. What we saw in the Super Bowl was an embodiment of exactly who he's been as a running back his entire career, all the way back to college. So this isn't a one-hit wonder. This isn't somebody that's just popping off and popping up suddenly. This is somebody that is capable of being the absolute one man in a backfield that can destroy you. His patience is something we all saw on display in the Super Bowl. His ability to take negative plays and turn them into positive plays was huge in the NFC Championship game. You see the numbers right there. He will be coveted. I think the right answer here, especially because Seattle does have money, is just to lock him up. Lock him up, get it taken care of, continue to run it back with the two-headed monster. But if they don't, if they choose to let him go to the street because they feel like they can supplement that elsewhere, I know many of us say don't pay running backs. There are going to be a bunch of teams that I think are looking around Caroline saying, I'll pay you. Like, I'm just looking squarely at teams like Kansas City, for example, that need Jacksonville. Teams that have explosive pieces on the offense but need that running back that can absolutely take you to the next level. I don't know that a great running back helps a bad team, but I do know that a great running back helps a great team. So if you are on the precipice, if you're on the doorstep, and you have a shot at Kenneth Walker III, I think you swing big and you take that shot at Kenneth Walker III.
I'm tired of the you can't pay a running back conversation. I think that's a fallacy. I think that's a thought that was antiquated a couple of years ago. Because you want to tell me that the Eagles shouldn't pay Saquon Barkley? You want to tell me he wasn't invaluable to their Super Bowl run last year? You want to tell me the 49ers shouldn't have paid Christian McCaffrey when he was the 49ers offense this past year? You want to tell me that Buffalo shouldn't pay James Cook when he is the second most important person on that team? You want to tell me the Colts shouldn't pay Jonathan Taylor when he and Daniel Jones were the Colts offense? I'm so sick and tired of hearing that argument, because a couple of years ago, the league kind of wanted to push running backs out. But now running backs have proven their value in this league. Are they as important as a quarterback? Of course not. The positions that get paid in football are the positions that throw the football, catch the football, and get after the guys that throw the football. I understand that. But like you said, and a running back is such a key and important ingredient in the gumbo pot that is a Super Bowl formula. You want to tell Patrick Mahomes that he wouldn't have wanted a more reliable guy at the running back position? Of course not. So yes, you pay a running back. And we do have at least a little bit of precedence with this, not necessarily at the running back position, but after Cooper Kupp won Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl, 56? I don't know, 2022, when the Rams beat the Bengals. Cooper Kupp got top 5 wide receiver money after being a Super Bowl MVP. Now, we know how that kind of panned out with the Rams. Cooper Kupp ended up with the Seahawks, and, jokes on them, I guess. But we do have precedence with that when you have a player at his position winning Super Bowl MVP, you lock that guy up, you pay that man.
Part of this, and when you say don't pay anybody, I will long die on the hill that if your answer is don't pay anybody, don't pay running backs, the real answer is don't pay anybody. Then the metrics will show you that Gronk is the only player out of offense and defense starting in Super Bowls that has been the highest paid player at his position and won. So if your answer is don't pay anybody, well, I don't really know how you do that in the modern NFL. But don't pay running backs. A decade ago, the NFL salary cap was $155 million. That's an actual number. In 2020, the salary cap was $188 million. Why am I telling you that? Because the salary cap now this year is going to eclipse $300 million. We are seeing an astronomical rise every single year because of these TV deals and extra revenue being brought in by the league in the salary cap. It is directly tied to the amount of money the NFL is making, which means there's more money than ever to spend. So my whole thing with don't pay guys is really, like, in the modern NFL, what are we looking at this year? Most of the teams have a ton of money to spend. And even the teams that are upside down, they can rework 2 or 3 contracts and all of a sudden, boom, they're on the right side of it again. So the NFL salary cap, sure, it pinches some people in at the end of robbing Peter to pay Paul. You push enough down the street and eventually you have to pay some bills. It does hit teams eventually, but man, right now, I just don't understand why somebody wouldn't look at Kenneth Walker. And sure, you can make the argument that he's not a great blocker. You can make an argument, as Chris Collinsworth chose to do in the middle of the Super Bowl, that he's not a great pass catcher. That's fine. I guess he does have some deficiencies in his game, but certainly what we saw in the NFL was in the Super Bowl was a level of patient running I don't think I've ever seen. I've never seen somebody attack the line of scrimmage the way he did. He's a different beast. And sometimes you have to acknowledge whether it's the athleticism of Saquon or it's the sheer size and speed of Derrick Henry. What if it's the patience of Kenneth Walker III that truly separates him from everybody else? I think there's some real to that. And if that's the case, why the hell would you not pay that guy? Especially because, to run this all back to the Seahawks, they have the money. They could certainly figure out a way to pay Kenneth Walker III should they want to. So why would you not when you've just seen his effectiveness in the Super Bowl?
Why would you not? Why would you not? I mean, the Seahawks don't have very many free agents up this offseason. It's Kenneth Walker III, it's Rashid Shaheed. Those are the two big impact players that are up this season. The Seahawks do have room on the books to bring them all back. And if they don't, they can create space if that's their priority. But let's just live in a world where that's not their priority, where Kenneth Walker III is not the Seahawks' priority. The Seahawks would rather take the resources and beef up the back end of their defense, or add more pass catchers, or beef up the offensive line, whatever it might be. Let's just say, okay, Kenneth Walker III, thanks, love ya. We had a great time. I'll always remember our lovely time together, but we're going to, send you off into the free agency world. If I'm the Denver Broncos, that is the first thing that I do. I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Kenneth Walker III, and I'm bringing him into Denver. Because, J.K. Dobbins was just on a 1-year deal. He's a free agent this offseason. I know that they just signed R.J. Harvey, but when J.K. Dobbins went down with an injury, R.J. Harvey proved that he could not carry the brunt of the load himself. He's not a bell cow back. So you would bring in Kenneth Walker III, a guy who was used to splitting those reps, and you bring him in just to kind of be a 1-2 punch with R.J. Harvey, take some of that load off of Bo Nix. I think that would be a match made in heaven in a Sean Payton offense.
I'm looking right now at the top payments for 2026, the top running back contracts, average salary. Saquon, number 1. I'd say he's worth it. Like, you can't tell me that the Eagles wouldn't win the Super Bowl because of Saquon. Christian McCaffrey, number 2, same thing. Derrick Henry, number 3. Jonathan Taylor. The Colts did not miss the playoffs because they are choosing to pay Jonathan Taylor. Josh Jacobs, James Cook, Kyron Williams, even Alvin Kamara, who finds himself in this list. One thing they all have in common, you know exactly what they bring to the table. You know exactly what they bring to your offense. You know exactly what they mean to your team. You're not paying for the possibility of production. You're paying somebody right now for what they can do. I think Kenneth Walker has proven that right now what he can do is far more than just be one of two guys. We're a fantasy football network largely at Yahoo, and anybody that plays fantasy football knows how frustrating it was all year to have Zach Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker, right? We get it. This dual-headed split, like one guy's getting carries in the red zone, the other guy isn't. We get frustrated as fantasy football fans. I watched the Super Bowl and thought, my God, I think it's electric and amazing that Kenneth Walker III, we've never heard a peep. We've never heard a single word from Kenneth Walker III about having to split reps with anybody. And we've seen throughout the course of the playoffs that my guy doesn't have to split reps with anybody. He's doing it because that's what the team wanted him to do. This is such an easy no-brainer. Go back the Brinks up truck up to me. It's not even a question.
Kenneth Walker does everything right. You know, there are a lot of guys that we hear about, maybe not for the best reasons, off the field extracurriculars, if you will. But Kenneth Walker, like you said, is just such a team guy. He was on with NFL Live, and Ryan Clark was like, please tell me you turned up. Please tell me you partied with the team. He was like, I went back to my hotel room with my family and had a celebration with them. He's humble. He does what needs to be done to win football games. He is the type of guy that you reward with that big-time contract. He's making, what, $2.5 million this past year? I mean, it's fair to say that a $14 million payday next year, if the Seahawks do decide to tag him, is just retroactively paying him for his efforts. But also, Kenneth Walker's 25 years old. He'll turn 26 in the middle of next season. We probably have, if we want to look at the usual wear and tear and tread on a running back, you've got probably 5 years of big time Kenneth Walker production. He just checks all of those boxes. He is the perfect prototype of the type of guy, regardless of position, that you pay. If the Seahawks don't tag him, I'm not opposed to the Seahawks signing him to like a 3-year deal. I would be open to, I think it would be smart business if the Seahawks even went outside of a tag and locked him up long term.
That's the best solution. Keep him there for a very long time. His career earnings, $8.44 million so far in his career. He will eclipse that
Not enough
this year. All right. Yeah, no, he's going to get a lot more. Congratulations to his financial team because they're about to get a bunch of money coming into that account. Coming up next, don't call it a comeback, please. No, seriously, don't call it a comeback. We'll tell you about a possible comeback that maybe we aren't in love with next.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Push out. Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knippel and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knippel. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Serena Williams is eligible to return to professional tennis later this month. The 23-time Grand Slam singles champion can compete starting February 22nd. After re-entering the drug testing protocol, Williams has not announced whether she plans to return, which leads us to a conversation about comebacks and what we actually want to see here. This feels like an opportunity for Serena to get back on the court. How do we feel about that? Is that something, Caroline, that you'd be pumped up for?
Well, yes, but I struggle with this because Serena Williams is a legend of the game. She will go down as one of the greatest female athletes in sports history. I will always take more of Serena Williams. I think more of Serena Williams is a great thing. I will forever be a Serena Williams fan. So in that light, yes, I want to watch her. But on the other end, I have to ask, what does this really do? What more does Serena Williams need to prove to me or to you or to the rest of the world? Serena Williams, like I just said, if she never plays tennis ever again, will go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. One of the most influential figures, not just in tennis, but in sports, in women's sports. What more does she have to prove? When you're at the very, very, very top, the pinnacle of what you do, what more can you add to your legacy when your legacy is already cemented? I love the Dark Knight trilogies. I'm a total Batman nerd. And there is a line in The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent says, "You don't live long enough to see yourself become the villain." And I think about that a lot in knowing when to walk away, knowing when staying and sticking around is actually doing more damage than it is good, going out on top. I don't want to see a world where Serena Williams looks anything less than one of the greatest in the game. I don't want to see a world where Serena Williams starts to look her age or starts to look like she is kind of, for lack of a better term, going downhill in her tennis career. We saw Tiger Woods over the last couple of years, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch a legend look mortal. We saw that with Russell Wilson. Now, I'm not saying that Serena Williams is Russell Wilson. No, I'm not. But Russell Wilson, we talked about just a couple of months ago about how he probably played himself out of the Hall of Fame discussion. Two totally different athletes, two totally different situations, but the sentiment is the same. I have an idea and a vision in my mind of who Serena Williams is. I don't want that to change. I don't have any reason to think that she would regress or that she would look anything less than what she has been, but sometimes it's better to just walk away and be okay with your decision from walking away.
The nuance on this too, Caroline, is like, I never want to tell an athlete to stop because that's not my place. And we know that on this show. It's hard because frankly, at some point, the game is not what it used to be. You're not capable of doing what you used to do. These are facts. So certainly when you've done something your whole life and you miss it, you want to be around it. That's why so many former football players get into media or get into coaching because they want to stay around the game. I understand missing the game, and I understand wanting to prove to yourself that you can do something. I get all of the beautiful Disney movie elements of why this is a great story that people are excited about. I can say that and then also say, for me as a viewer, it's not something I'm excited for because I don't want to see less than. I have in my mind the greatness of Serena and what it's been and what it's meant and what it meant to society and what it meant to all of us as fans to get to watch it and what it's like to see somebody at their absolute best. I talk a lot about my music background. I've got these records hanging behind me. I grew up an 80s rock fan, right? Like hair metal in the 80s was a big deal to me. It's painful now to watch the videos that are up on Instagram and social media of what Axl Rose looks like running around on stage and sounds like running around on stage. You see videos of Motley Crue. It's painful. Hell, people older than me have complained a lot about watching Frankie Valli, all the way back to Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. They're propping him up on stage when he's just not at a spot where he can even do it anymore. And I understand that it's great to watch legends. And I understand that legends, they associate with us. We connect with them because of the memories we have watching them be great. So because of the memories we have watching Serena be great, it's this awesome moment where you imagine this AI world where, man, she's going to be back and it's going to be the Serena of old. More often than not, it isn't. And so now for me, the reason that I never go see Guns N' Roses on tour is like, I want to remember Guns N' Roses for who they were when I was a kid, not for the just painful version of who they are today. And it's not that I want to take their joy away from performing. They just are no longer capable of doing what they used to do. And watching that for me is a painful thing. I know that Serena's legacy is cemented, and certainly we're not here to explain to her what she should do for her legacy moving forward. But I do believe that when you come back and you play later and it's less than, there are people that's the only thing they're ever going to know of you. There are people that aren't going to take the time to go back on YouTube and see the clips from 20 years ago. There are people that aren't going to see all of your great wins. There are people that are no longer going to remember the context of what made you great. They're just going to look at the version that they see now and apply the universal term we hear all the time of, oh, she sucks. And like, life is never that simple. I don't want to give haters the chance to fuel hate on a legacy that is absolutely blemishless. It's perfect in every possible way. You've done everything you need to do. If she wants to play, I can't tell her not to, but certainly that wouldn't be my place. But I don't have any excitement to watch it because I fear what it would do for her legacy moving forward.
And you don't want to question Serena Williams' legacy. I mean, we're talking about Mount Rushmore of sports figures, not tennis figures, not women's sports figures, sports figures. One of the greatest at her craft, was someone who we will be talking about hundreds and hundreds of years from now. Someone who, our kids and our kids' kids and our kids' kids' kids will know about, because that's how impactful and important she was from a cultural level, from a tennis level. That's how important she is. We are talking about someone who will stand the test of time, someone who superseded the game of tennis, like Tiger Woods superseded the game of golf, period. Like, no ands, ifs, buts. I will not debate anyone on that because it's not debatable. That's who she is. Now, to your point, who am I to say that Serena Williams shouldn't come back? If Serena Williams feels like she still has something in the tank, if Serena Williams feels like she cannot walk into the sunset and go into retirement quite yet because she feels like there's just still something left. There's a spark left. There's something left that she has to prove, whatever it might be. I won't stand in her way. I am not the person to tell Serena Williams, yeah, no, thanks, we're good. But there's a legacy portion of this that I think is important, that sometimes things don't need to go, that sometimes things can go untouched. Sometimes things can just be settled as they are because, to use your word, they're perfect. They don't need more. There isn't any meat that's left on the bone. There isn't anything that's lingering in my mind of what if Serena Williams did this? What if Serena Williams did that? Man, there's still some things left that Serena Williams has to achieve. No, you can't. You can't make that argument. So what's left?
There's also an element for me of the oxygen in the room. There's only so much of it. And through no fault of, you mentioned Tiger. Every time Tiger comes back, all we talk about for the next 2 years is Tiger, when he's going to come back, what's it going to mean? Can he come back and win? It sucks all of the oxygen out of golf. Now, that's not Tiger's fault. That's not Tiger's problem. But the fact is, most people still don't really care about the rest of the golfers. If you're a casual, not named Tiger. And part of that, I think, is that they haven't gotten arms linked away far enough from Tiger to this point. There is a movement happening right now, and we just talked about it recently, like watching some of the trash talk and personality that's coming out from some of the women's tennis stars that are rising. I think when you talk about Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff, they've become household names suddenly, right? And there are a laundry list of women that are moving up in the amount of attention they're getting in women's tennis right now. I think that's a really beautiful thing, and it's an important thing for the next chapter. These moments, and it's not Serena's job to worry about it, but there isn't a consequence, intended or not. If she steps back on the court, all of a sudden we take all of our attention that are going to all of these rising young stars that are giving us personality and great play, and they're really trying to cement their legacy. All of that attention just drifts. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just inevitable. And the minute it drifts, now it becomes even tougher for the sport to turn around and get those eyeballs back over here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Focus over here to what we have growing and what's coming next. I do believe, unintended or not, that there is consequence to the attention we pay to everybody else simply by Serena stepping back on the court.
And let's acknowledge this current generation of tennis players, Naomi Osaka, Coco Gauff, American or international. It's not possible without Serena Williams. She has paved the way for the current generation of women's tennis players in general. But we keep talking about, what if she doesn't look like her peak self, which is fair to expect? What if she looks quote unquote less than? What if our, impression of her gets tainted because she doesn't look like the same Serena Williams that we have come to know and come to love? What if she looks like a badass? Like, what if she wins? Like, what if Serena Williams does look like peak Serena Williams? Then what does that do to her legacy? Because we say it's cemented, but if you had greatness on top of what she has already achieved, which is greatness, does that transcend her to a different level than she's already on? It has to, right?
I don't know. She's already sort of Mount Rushmore for me in so many ways. Like, what's it do? Does it make you a little bit bigger on Mount Rushmore? I hear you, and this is much like watching Tiger win a Masters. Where everybody turns around because it was so late and so unexpected, and it fed the beast of, oh my God, I can't believe we got to see it, and that's incredible.
One of the greatest sports stories in history.
But it also took a matter of minutes for everybody to then turn around and say, oh, can he win it again? How many more can he win? Like, it's just a weird world we live in. I think maybe part of the reason I don't think about that as much is because I already have so much respect for what she's accomplished in this sport. She's already such a GOAT to me. I don't know how GOATs get even more goated, but you're right. If she comes back and wins, certainly that's great for everybody in this process. Whatever she decides, we respect. All we can do is give our thoughts on what it could mean and how it could look when it all goes down. In the meantime, we have Olympic action going on right now. The Winter Olympics underway, and we are getting some of the best of it. Olympic men's ice hockey underway. Finally going to see some drama with America. We'll tell you about it next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. When you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry a torch during this program. Like, I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's going to have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
Cheaters never win until they do. Sturla Holm from Norway broke down crying after winning a bronze medal, then proceeded to tell everyone he cheated on his girlfriend. 6 months ago, I met the love of my life, the world's most beautiful, sweetest person. 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life and cheated on her. She has, the anonymous woman has since told a Norwegian tabloid, it's, quote, hard to forgive. Caroline, how do we feel about airing your cheating laundry while you're winning a bronze medal?
Oh man, I hate this. I hate this for so many reasons. He was like, maybe I'll just make myself look stupid for doing social suicide. She won't come back to me. Yeah, you do look stupid. Yeah, you do look dumb. This is not the time nor the place to be airing you or your ex-girlfriend's dirty laundry. And my message to her, leave him. Don't let him gaslight you into coming back just because he boohoo cried at the Olympics after winning a medal and now he's made international news. He cheated on you. When someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time, not when they're boohoo crying at the Olympics. That's incredible. I love that tweet.
That is a well done. That is a well done photo right there. Look, I guess my thing about this is, like, if you're trying to work it out, then great, try to work it out one-on-one and talk like adults one-on-one. Right now, what you did, and I don't know if this was intent or not, but not everybody's super public about this. You just told every one of her friends. You just told her family. You just told the people she went to middle school with that you cheated on her. Like, you just intentionally or unintentionally, you just took what has to be a very, very difficult moment in her life, and you plastered it to everybody that's ever been a Facebook friend to hers to suddenly reach out and be like, I hope you're okay. Or even worse, you know what I mean? Like, there's a moment to me where some of these things should be just handled ... privately. So by putting it out there and then even trying to portray this as I'm taking my shining moment and I'm making it about her to try and win her back, I owe her an apology. Like, all of the way that you're couching this somehow weirdly tries to make it seem like you're the good guy in this, when in fact you're the one that cheated. And then on top of that, above and beyond all of that, now you're just taking it out to the streets and you're basically throwing a confetti ticker tape parade across the entire world to tell everybody in the world that she got cheated on. I don't really see the win. Like, if there's any advice I could give you, sir, it's get new people in your social circles that will tell you when something's a bad idea. Because, frankly, you are 0 for 2. The cheating was a bad idea, and then airing the dirty laundry publicly, Caroline, an even worse idea.
And you just told on yourself, too, to every potential future partner out there that you can't keep it in your pants. Ugh. So not only are you damaging your relationship with your ex-girlfriend even further than you already did, you're also basically telling the entire world, don't date me because I'll cheat on you. Bad all the way around.
This is a
I wish her
this is
nothing
an
but the
epic
best.
fail. 1,000. I think we all wish her nothing but the best, and I'm sorry that for her mentions in advance. All right. Speaking of the Olympics, we got plenty of Olympics to get to. Hockey is underway today, and Caroline had the opportunity to talk to TJ Oshie leading up to the Olympics. Check a little of this out.
Who is Team USA's biggest rival?
Oh, Team Canada, for sure. I mean, they've been just, and I can say this because I've never beat them in my life at any level of USA hockey. They have just been just dominating us, but we're finally to that point where I think they see us as an equal, and deservedly so. These young American kids are phenomenal, and they're not only on their own teams, but in the league now. Some of the best players in the league are American-born players, whereas before, a lot of times it was mostly Canadian. So love seeing the American flag up there at the top of the stat sheets.
All right, Caroline, obviously men's hockey gets underway today. You had the chance to talk to TJ, former Olympian. The Team USA gets underway tomorrow afternoon. This is a special moment, though, because for the first time since 2014, we have Olympians we have NHL players in the Olympics. This is a wildly dangerous, I think, hockey fans, NHL fans everywhere, fingers crossed for health. But this is going to make the intensity that's already incredible ramped up even higher.
100%. And I have mixed emotions about NHL players playing in the Olympics. I think it's great for the sport. If you want to look at the good side of it, it is great for the sport. You know, I talked to TJ Oshie. He really kind of catapulted to not just national, but international fame in 2014 in Sochi when he made 4 of his 6 penalty shots to beat Russia. It was massive. It was huge. He was an American hero. And I think that all of a sudden put so many eyeballs on the NHL, on TJ Oshie, because people wanted to follow what he was doing. It gave the NHL a larger stage because it had an international stage at the Olympics. And I think vice versa. Whenever NHL fans see their favorite players playing in the Olympics, they want to tune into Olympic men's ice hockey. So it's a symbiotic relationship. We see the Olympics that much more exciting because it's names and it's players that we know on both the women's and men's side. And it also makes the PWHL and the NHL bigger because you have a larger stage. But Fitz, I have to look at it from the other side as well. And we've heard Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL, talk a lot about this as well, is whenever you have players playing in physical, high stakes hockey games, there is a risk of injury. And that makes the NHL product diluted. When a Nathan McKinnon, a Cale Makar, an Austin Matthews, a Sebastian Aho, certified NHL superstars. Now, knock on wood, I would never wish injury on anyone, Team USA or not, of course. But if those NHL superstars get injured in the Olympics and they're out for the rest of the NHL season, that hurts the NHL product. You're never going to eliminate the risk of injury, right? Those guys could get injured playing in an NHL game. But I do understand Gary Bettman's concern or NHL fans' concerns of the NHL product hurting because of what might happen on the Olympic stage.
The hardest part about that is the risk. You're right. Now, fighting in the Olympics is absolutely not tolerated. Automatic injection, 15-minute penalties. Like the fighting penalties are through the roof. But this is interesting to me. They made a massive change to the rink. Typically, Olympic hockey has a larger rink that leads to, a little bit more space. In 2026, the ice is tighter, so they wanted a faster, more physical game, similar to NHL play. So they're trying to ramp up the physicality in the Olympics. I saw that, knowing that they're changing the rink this year, and immediately thought, man, that's going to make for a great product to watch, and that's only going to make every GM of every NHL team puckered up from the beginning to the end. And this is the hardest part, because when you are the NHL, you need the billboard of the Olympics. You need the worldwide, the global advertisement of it. You need the captivated eyeballs. The fact is, nothing would be better for the NHL than Team USA and Canada both just absolutely going on a head-on collision where they end up playing for a medal, right? Like that is in 2014, when we had such great rivalries from the NHL, it carried over. It gave momentum to the season after the Olympics, and I felt like a lot of people that were watching it were incredibly interested in what was happening in the NHL immediately after the Olympics because of the passion we saw through the Olympic process. So I think you need the billboard, you need the passion, you need all of these things that come from it. You need people to fall in love with the sport and want to carry that love with their favorite players over to their favorite teams. But Caroline, the risk of that is real, and you're 1,000% right. The worst case scenario is that somebody's shot at Lord Stanley's Cup is derailed by an injury in the Olympics, which Gary Bettman and the NHL don't have to care about. They're not partners in this. They're just doing what they think is right for the sport by taking this time off and giving Olympians the opportunity to compete. There is so little win and so much opportunity for loss. I understand why the NHL is nervous about this process, and I also understand why one big injury would change the future of their willingness to cooperate at all.
I do think, though, with all of that being said, I do think overall it's a net positive for the NHL, because I think it's a net positive for the game of hockey. And it's a game that wants to expand. It's a game that wants to get more popular. It's a game that is far more popular overseas in countries like Finland and Sweden and Canada, far more than it is in the United States. If you don't live in a hockey city, or if you didn't grow up in a hockey city, you probably don't really care that much about hockey. But we know what you do care about? The United States, and you do care about the Olympics. So if that's your kind of gateway drug to getting into the game of hockey, is watching it in the Olympics or watching it in the Four Nations face-off, which was a wild, resounding success. Everyone was intoxicated with the Four Nations face-off. So if it's something like that you are, dedicated to watching country versus club, but that's your entrance into the sport, and then you kind of find a club, you find a team that you start to root for, and that's your entrance into the NHL, then wonderful. Then that's a net positive for everyone involved. There's going to be injury risk no matter what, right? There's injury risk when you get out of bed in the morning. There's injury risk when you go to a yoga class. There's injury risk when you go on a walk with your dog, right? There's injury risk all the time. I don't blame Gary Bettman for wanting to kind of eliminate those injury risks as much as possible. But the game of hockey is a blast, and it should be a bigger sport, a more popular sport. And Milan Cortina might be the way that we get new eyeballs on it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And it'll also be interesting to see the impact it has on legs and fatigue of the skaters that choose to participate versus the skaters that don't. A lot of information from the Olympics are going to impact the NHL season, which we are excited for. We're even more excited for our next guest. Coming up next, we're going to go viral because one of the most famous creators in all the world joins us. Ishowspeed coming up next on Yahoo Sports Daily.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Thank you, Africa. I will be back. That from Ishowspeed, one of the most recognizable faces on the internet today. He is the reigning streamer of the year. He is absolutely a phenomenon. We appreciate you hanging out with us, man. You just finished a massive tour visiting 20 different countries across Africa. What inspired you to do it?
What inspired me? As a kid, I always loved to travel, and as a kid, I wasn't able to travel, and I was always just deeply involved in culture. I kind of realized that back in history class. I was just like, what? Huh? You know what? Huh? So now it all makes sense now. Like, now that I think about it, on why I'm such a travel fiend and I'm traveling around these countries and learning so much stuff. And plus, I'm from Africa. I got to go back. That's the motherland.
I mean, looking at all of these photos, it just looks like you had such a cool experience. You're immersed with the people, with the culture. If you could name one, what was your one single favorite memory or story from your trip to Africa?
My one single food. That's a very broad question because there's so much that
I
happened.
know I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot, but I say the Kenyan, my Kenya visit was it was just crazy to me on how much people just came out for me. Like, I think it was maybe around about 30,000 people that came out from the city just to watch me stream and just watch me and just be along in experiences with me. So I don't think I'd never seen that much people ever. And just to think that I could pull such a crowd in Africa, I was astonished. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, you've got a lot going on, not just overseas, but also stateside. You were in a Super Bowl commercial for Oakley Meadow where you raced an airplane before jumping inside. So
that was real.
Halfway. Okay, so walk me through that. Have you gone through one of your stunts where, like, in the middle of it, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I thinking? This is not going to go well.
Nah, see what happens. I see the stunt double do it, and I'm like, what? I can do this easily. Like, what? Like, I don't need a stunt double. I can just do it. And like, I was like anytime if it's a challenge, I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just in my blood. So I was like, you know what? Let me just do this. Let me just do this stunt, and I did it. I did it first try, actually.
I mean,
And
I
think
watched you on
the first take is in the commercial as well.
No way. That was the first take? How many takes did you do?
That was the first take. We did around I think I did around 8 to 10 times, but the first take's in there though. The first take shot is in there.
8 to 10 times?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, not 10.
So
I'm like 8.
I'm sitting there watching Unreal, and they're talking about you in WWE at the Royal Rumble, just being thrown into the ring. And what I keep thinking about is your leg, man. You got out of the ring, and your leg looked beat up. How long did it take to get back to that? You ever getting back in the ring for one of those opportunities again after that injury?
Man, I don't know. I mean, we got WrestleMania coming up, so you maybe see me in there, you maybe not. I'm just not trying to get beat up, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I got beat up too much times. I can't. My body can't take that anymore. I can't.
Is there special training you go through to get ready to get beat up like that?
Is there special stream? I stream, man. That's my special training.
That's fair.
I pop the stream
That's
on
fair.
there.
Very fair. And speaking of streams, you did do a streams and travels. You were in Greece talking with Giannis last summer. You were talking about his future with the Bucks. You asked him if he planned to stay, and he said, quote, "Probably, we'll see. I love Milwaukee," which immediately set all Bucks fans off. They were all kind of freaking out one way or another. So were you surprised that Giannis didn't get traded at the NBA trade deadline?
To be honest, you can never tell with Giannis. He's just he's such a he got so much anonymity to him, so you don't really know what he really means and what he says. But I wasn't surprised. I actually wasn't surprised. I was just because he's never going to really tell you. He's never really going to tell you. But it's good to see him at the Giannis. I mean, it's good to see him at the Bucks, though. It is good to see him at the Bucks.
So when you were, having your conversation with Giannis, you're saying, hey, he's kind of anonymous, doesn't give a whole lot. What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
No, Giannis. That's my brother. That's my brother. I don't think I never really clicked with an athlete like that before. I say me and him had such a good chemistry. I felt like he was just my friend. I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. He took me to his home. He took me to his first he did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So he was just showing me around. And I think that just made that just made me think highly of him. That whole interaction. And we still text time to time. He was texting me during my Africa tour, so we still check up on each other. Cool. I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Yeah, that's so awesome to see the friendships unfold live on your stream. And on your stream, you talked about how you would potentially introduce him to Michael Jordan. Did that ever happen? Do we have an MJ Giannis introduction in the books?
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I was on tour, and it was a risk of I would have to pause my tour for 5 days, and I would just mess up too many logistics, and it just would have been a hassle just to clean it up. But there's always another try. There's always another chance. I'm gonna meet Michael Jordan one day. Don't worry, I'm gonna meet him, even though he's hard to get. But I'm gonna meet him.
Look, there's the one thing none of us are gonna do is doubt you, dude. You've built an empire, right? So you're part of this new sort of world where you can start something and really be your own boss and be your own vision and create something. For you, what was the first moment where you looked around and you're like, wait, this is getting traction. This is real.
The first time that happened?
Yeah.
Or I would say when I was around maybe 4 years ago. 4 years ago. I mean, obviously it's gotten way bigger from now. But when I was 16, I think I popped that stream and I gained around 200,000 subs in one stream. Literally my life changed from one stream. From one stream my life changed. So it happened way too quickly actually. But I gained around 400,000 subs, and ever since that day it's just been going up from then.
How hard is it then? As you said, it happened so quickly. How hard is it for you, because this is such a world where you got to top everything all the time, right? You got to be creative all the time. Like, how do you find that juice?
It's already in me, man. Come on, I'm Ishowspeed. It's really in me. I think I was really born to do this because obviously, like, I enjoy it, and like I'm just really just living life. I'm really just doing me. So it's not like I can't really give you a technical answer, but I'm just really living life, and like as you can see, I'm on top of a car and just doing stuff. So, but yeah. I love
That's
it.
not something that you can fake. Like you can't be on top of a spinning car and not be absolutely in love with it and passionate about it. And the world of content creation has become massive over the last couple of years. It's not going anywhere. So to somebody that's watching this and watches you religiously and says, "I want to be the next Ishowspeed," what would your advice be?
To be the next Ishowspeed? Listen. What I realized over the years in my just gathering intel and information on the scene of streaming, like in this industry, you can't never be somebody. You can't never be somebody of what somebody was always was. You have to really find yourself in this game. You have to find what you enjoy. It's kind of like you really have to find yourself. And once you find yourself, then that's when you can branch out and grow. So it's kind of a mix of two things: find yourself, then growing from that own self being. So, and that's kind of what I did. You can't replicate. It's like basketball. Everybody has their own style. Some people like to shoot. Some people like to drive to the rim. Some people are all around, and you need to find what you're good at.
I mean, no doubt. Like, that's part of what makes you special. That's no doubt. Now, I'm watching you on the couch while I'm doom scrolling. I'm eating Doritos and Ruffles. Tell us what you're up to. You're working with Doritos and Ruffles on the ultimate snack. What do you got for me, dude?
This is crazy. This is honestly crazy. But it's flavor swap. Basically, it combines two of the favorite flavors. Two of the favorite flavors, and it combines them. And you know what's crazy? Doritos and Ruffles were my two favorite snacks as a child. So the fact that they're swapping them together, it's like the best tip. I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm not even gassing it, just because we're in a partnership. But it's the best tip. I tried one chip and I found myself eating a whole bag. It messed up my whole diet, but it's a very good chip.
Yeah, I mean,
very
come on.
great chip.
Yeah, like, look, you're ripped.
It's destiny.
You're rocking. So yeah, like you are absolutely like, let's go. You don't have a lot of body fat, dude. Like I'm impressed. It's worth killing the diet for. Come on.
Yeah, it is. It is worth killing the diet. It is.
That's amazing.
But I think the chips are available. Yeah, the flavor swap chips are available on TikTok Shop February 16th. So you can try them. You can try them if you're up for the challenge. If you're up for the challenge.
I think I might have to be up for the challenge because I'm with you. Those are two of my favorite chips as well. So you've got all of these great things going on with Ruffles.
It's my new favorite chip
Doritos. Ooh, I don't doubt that. Those are two of the best. So you have this exciting partnership going on with Doritos and Ruffles. You just won Streamer of the Year in 2025. Congratulations. So what's in store for 2026? What's next for you?
2026? What do you expect from 2026? I mean, you're going to expect, I'll say me, I think I'm going to evolve more. I think I'm going to find myself more. 2026. Obviously still traveling. More partnerships, and I don't know, maybe I might try something new. That's what I say. Trying something new.
Well, I mean, come on, man. Like,
that's what I was saying.
You're globally known. You're in everything pop culture. Like I said, you were on the Royal Rumble. You're on Super Bowl commercials. What's left on the bucket list? Other than meeting Michael Jordan, what's left on the bucket list?
Listen, art has no limit. So there's plenty more to do. There's like you can never be closed-minded like that. You can never be closed-minded like that. So there's a lot. There's still a lot. There's still a lot that I haven't done and that I haven't been to. My goal is to travel to every country in the world, and I'm only at 80 right now. So
80 is a good start.
I mean, you're at 80 and you're killing it. You're absolutely killing it, dude. Like I can't wait to watch more while I'm eating the Doritos and Ruffles together. Not gonna lie, that's just gonna be my couch snack, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Congratulations on all your success. It's just fun to watch what you do. It's fun to watch you be yourself and inspire a whole generation to follow in your footsteps, man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right, peace out, y'all.
That's great stuff from Ishowspeed hanging out with us. Coming up next, we'll get back to the NFL. Some strong words from Myles Garrett told us exactly what we might need to know right now about the locker room in Cleveland. We'll tell you about it next.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see, he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knipple. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
We're not going to give anyone that title until they go out there and earn it. That from Myles Garrett talking about Shedeur Sanders being the future starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I'll be honest, I think that might be the nicest of the quotes to me in the interview with Micah Parsons as he talked about the fact that Shedeur was the last person to step on the field, so he'll get a shot to do it again. It was a very non-committal, is what it is. Sure, he's the guy. Might as well give it a shot from Myles Garrett. So for everybody, Caroline, that has loud opinions about whatever was happening last year and whether or not Kevin Stefanski was trying to throttle back Shedeur Sanders and all of these things that we've heard a lot of ignorant people say on social media, Myles Garrett had the chance to step up at a microphone and say, man, I'm just glad a new coach is going to come in and treat him like the QB1 he is. Myles Garrett had the chance to say, man, I'm just glad that finally that monkey's off everybody's back and we get to go out there and live with our quarterback the way he deserves to be treated. Could have said any of that. And instead, Myles was very real and very honest. And maybe this is the moment that everybody needs to start figuring out that, like, Shedeur is not what anybody thinks Shedeur is. Maybe he's just a fifth-round draft pick trying to earn his way to the starting spot on the Cleveland Browns.
But is he wrong, though? Like, did he earn it? Like, we're having that conversation about JJ McCarthy, and JJ McCarthy was a first-round pick. And there is inherently more leeway and more leash that you get depending on your draft stock, depending on where you were drafted. Shedeur Sanders was drafted in the 5th round. You can like that. You can not like that. You can disagree with that. You can agree with that. But it is what it is. So did he earn it? I don't think so. Shedeur Sanders showed a lot of good. He also showed a lot of being a rookie that's still figuring out the National Football League. Like, I don't think that we should villainize athletes for telling the truth. Now, there's a place, there is a time, and there is a tone. That is all important, because when you're Myles Garrett, your words matter. So I don't want to just act like athletes can go out there and be all willy-nilly and say whatever they want and not have consequence. Let's not get that twisted. But Justin Jefferson, the week of the Super Bowl, was doing his car washes, he was doing his interviews, and he told us on Yahoo Sports Daily, he told us, look, JJ's got a lot of learning and growing to do. Is he wrong? Like, is he wrong? We all can watch JJ McCarthy and acknowledge he's got a lot of learning to do. He's got a lot of growth to experience, and he's only played 10 games in the last 2 years in the NFL. Of course, he has some learning to do. So he wasn't wrong in his evaluation of saying that. Myles Garrett's not wrong here. Shedeur Sanders has not earned a starting spot yet, and that's okay. Maybe what Shedeur Sanders needs isn't public praise, isn't Myles Garrett saying certified QB1, no question about it. You know, any criticisms aren't fair. Shedeur Sanders is the guy. Maybe Shedeur Sanders doesn't need that. Maybe Shedeur Sanders needs public accountability. Maybe Shedeur Sanders needs someone, a teammate, a very famous teammate with a big time platform, the defensive player in the year in the NFL, to just have some honest truth, some honest accountability. And also, it's not Myles Garrett's place to decide who is QB1. It's not Myles Garrett's position to put Todd Monken, their new head coach, in a position to have to put Shedeur Sanders in at QB1 because Myles Garrett told him so. I don't have any problem with what Myles Garrett said. It's refreshing honesty.
I agree completely. And I think we're seeing more and more of this refreshing honesty, but honesty is the big part of the word here, because you're right. I don't know if JJ McCarthy is the future for the Vikings. Right now, if I had to guess, I'd say the answer is no. I don't know if Michael Penix Jr. is the future for the Atlanta Falcons. If I had to guess, I'd say probably no. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is the future for the Cleveland Browns. If I had to guess, I'd probably say no. Like, at the end of the day, it's a revolving door until you get your guy. And you need to have a guy that you absolutely just believe you can make, you can go to war with that guy. And look, it doesn't always have to be somebody epic. You and I have talked about the fact that Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold were the last two Super Bowl champions. They are not two of the best quarterbacks in the league. They're two good quarterbacks on very good teams. I don't think that Shedeur has to be compared to or has to live up to Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or any of those guys. What they need to figure out is Shedeur the sort of guy that you can win a lot of football games with? And I think it's okay to just look around and acknowledge we don't know the answer to it. That's also why I don't have a problem, as Mary Kay Cabot, a noted and well-respected reporter in Cleveland, pointed out that Todd Monken is intrigued by once elite Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, who's 100% healthy now. That doesn't surprise me, because if you're Todd Monken and you walked in the door, the first thing you got to do is figure out what you have. I think we just presume that coaches, when they walk in the door, have already studied everything that you could possibly know about a roster. One thing that I thought was interesting, even from Clint Kubiak's introductory press conference with the Raiders, he was asked about some of the players, and the first thing he said is, got to dig into the tape. Got to dig into the tape. Like, Todd Monken did not study every single quarterback in that room before he agreed to take the Cleveland Browns job. He is now there, and it is his job. What he's spending all day, every day with is ripping through these guys and trying to figure out, what do we have? Now, Deshaun Watson costs a ton of money. He's going to be on that roster anyway. Frankly, no matter what we think of Deshaun Watson, the person, if I was Deshaun Watson, if I was the head football coach of the Cleveland Browns, I want to figure out if I've got a quarterback in the room, and I don't care anymore if it's Deshaun or if it's Shedeur or if it's some guy we're going to go off the street. I just got to find the answer. So I wouldn't close any doors until I had the opportunity to go through all of them and actually see what I have in film, see what I have in the weight room, see what I have in meetings, have a cup of coffee with all these guys, figure out who they are, and then figure out who my quarterback should be. There is no clear-cut answer in my mind for Cleveland other than we need time to figure it out.
One of my old radio hosts in Nashville used to work with a former NFL general manager who always used to say, you don't make your mind up until you have to. You give yourself as much time as you possibly can before you say, okay, yeah, like, this is the decision that I'm going to make. Today is February 11th. Realistically, Todd Monken doesn't have to make his mind up about who QB1 is until the season kicks off in after Labor Day in early to mid-September? That's 7 months from now. Why would Todd Monken on week 1, week 2 of the job make his mind up when he doesn't have to? Todd Monken has the entirety of a draft process. Todd Monken has the entirety of off-season workouts, has all of OTAs, has all of training camp, has all of the next 7 months to watch tape, to, talk to these quarterbacks, to make his mind up about who is his QB1. So I'm sure he's intrigued by Deshaun Watson, because when your options are Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Deshaun Watson, I guess any of them could be intriguing. I guess you could put lipstick on any pig. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me, especially when you're paying Deshaun Watson $50 million. Then yeah, I'm sure that's intriguing to Todd Monken. But he's going to say that about Shedeur Sanders, and I think he's probably going to say that about Dylan Gabriel. He has all of these options at quarterback, and he doesn't have to make his mind up right now. I think anything is on the table. Now, if I were running the Browns organization, I wouldn't start Deshaun Watson, because I don't really necessarily want to sign up for the PR nightmare that is Deshaun Watson being your starting quarterback, but that's my decision. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars of my own money that's tied up into this roster. My livelihood, my future, my job is not tied up into who the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns is, so that's easy for me to say. But if I'm Todd Monken, yeah, I'm taking my sweet time. I'm looking at every single variable. I'm allowing these guys to show me who they are. I'm going to let the QB1 show himself, whether that's Deshaun, whether that's Dylan Gabriel, and whether that's Shedeur Sanders, or insert whoever the Browns sign in the offseason here.
Deshaun Watson has a guaranteed salary of $46 million this year. He has a cap number of $80 million, and he has a dead cap number of $131 million. It would be foolish for us to think that they're not going to at least give him a look, because financially, they have to give him a look. Also, at the end of the day, you mentioned not your money. It is the Haslam's money. And what we don't know is how much pressure is coming from the Haslam's organization to make it all look right, because there is a very real world where Jimmy Haslam can look around and say, you guys think I'm an idiot, but check this out. If Deshaun Watson comes out, balls out, even though this is the last year that they're really financially tied to him forever, they have a couple years left on this contract. I mean, if I'm Haslam, I'm looking around saying, I've been the butt of every joke for a very long time. I would like people to see that I'm not an idiot. And wow, Deshaun Watson going out and winning 12 games for the Browns would accomplish that. We have no idea what kind of internal pressure is coming from ownership to at least give Deshaun Watson a look. I think all this comes back to why the right answer is to give everybody a look and let it play out. Let's see what second-year quarterbacks look like when they've had a full offseason to adjust and learn playbooks. Let's see what everybody looks like as they're growing into this offense. And also, let's see what Todd Monken feels like he can do the best work with when it comes to cooking with the right ingredients. Now, that being said, the Browns are clearly going to win the Super Bowl because the logo has dropped. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Super Bowl logo has dropped, and it's got Browns fans feeling some kind. I didn't get a Browns energy out of this, but some Browns fans have gotten a Browns energy. Are you getting Cleveland energy out of it?
No, I think that the Super Bowl logo is kind of like, abstract art. You see what you want to see. I didn't get Browns from this until our producer, Mike Goldfarb, Browns fan, said, obviously this means the Browns are going to the Super Bowl. And I was like, I didn't see that. But okay, I'm getting big Dolphins energy, BDE. That's what that means. I'm getting big Chiefs.
I don't think that's what that
I'm getting more Bengal than I'm getting Brown. But maybe that's also missing what I want to see, because I don't see the Browns going to the Super Bowl.
Now, let me just ask you this. What color would you call the Lombardi trophy? Silver, right? We would call that silver. And the letter Super Bowl is black. It's silver and black. The Super Bowl's in black. We just came to it. Raiders are winning the Super Bowl. That's 100%. I didn't. You know what? The logo says it. I didn't say it. The logo says it. Silver and black is very present in that logo. That to me looks like it is clear. Caroline, Fernando Mendoza, national champion, Super Bowl champion, all within the scope of a calendar year. Give it to me.
The script is out. The script is there. We see it. It's right in front of our faces. How could we be so blind to the obvious? Clint Kubiak.
I can't figure out.
Fernando Mendoza, Modern Dynasty.
You said it. Since you said it, I'll just agree with it. I can't find an NFC team color in any of this. Like, is it a weird Eagles alt color, like with the teal? Like,
Eagles.
I don't know, because that's like it's maybe Seahawkian.
Eagles.
It's it's not really giving me any NFC. It's not giving me any
Bucks
any
creamsicles.
Okay, that's not creamsicle. That's orange. That is orange. Look, this is what we've learned. We are definitely not sophisticated color palette people on Yahoo Sports Daily. What we've also learned is that we have you covered every single step of the way. If you're just tuning in, make sure you hang out with us every day. We've got great Olympic breakdowns from people covering it in Italy. Really proud of the coverage we're giving you throughout the course of the week. As always, we are back to 9 a.m. Eastern, so come back and hang with us tomorrow, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thank you so much for watching Yahoo Sports Daily. Come back tomorrow.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutierrez. I think he's going to be the next big African star. Already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester top team. They could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And you still got those guys. And you still got those two guys.